Hi, everybody. Welcome to yet again another episode of Grounding into Simplicity. My name is Tish, and this is my very dear sister, Marya Stark. And today we are going to dive in deep a little bit about her experience with grounding into simplicity and what that means. Marya, I'd love for you just to give yourself a quick little introduction, sharing where you are and really what is your greatest passion and joy in life.
Well, hi everyone. I am hailing in from Santa Cruz, California, and my greatest passion and joy is music, is creativity, is self-realization through creative process.
I love that. Beautifully said, Marya. So Marya and I actually met at a beautiful event in Costa Rica this year. Feels like past life, but it was this year, and at Shakti Sound, and she really dove in deep into sharing with us like the voice of the womb and different kinds of workshop around her work. Now, one of these practices that I found really helpful to me is really connecting our voices through our womb is really one of my grounding practices. So I'm curious to know, Marya, what does grounding into simplicity mean for you, and how can you describe that as being part of your daily life?
I love that question. And when I hear the words grounding into simplicity, where that takes me is how present can I get with the least amount of complicated doing possible. Because there's a lot of knowledge in the world around practices and techniques and mindfulness and meditation and yoga and the subtle body and mechanisms of how our temple bodies function. There's just tons of that. And so I think for me, when I really come back to the simplest form of getting here, getting here in the body, what I end up doing throughout the day is multiple times a day, I'll just take a pause and I'll just check my mind and I'll check my breath and I'll check my body and I'll check these like three places. I like to think of them as like the three stops, like how's my body, how's my speech, how's my mind, how's my body, how's my heart, how's my imagination. And just even taking a moment to tune in. Don't even have to do anything, right? It's just like even bringing my awareness to body, emotion, imagination. It creates this breath, and it can pull me out of some wormhole I might be in a thought process where my emotions are stirred up and I'm worried about the past or the future, and just taking that quick pause helps me to have more spaciousness in the moment so that I can respond to what life is asking of me. And I can take that breath for myself just to be like, oh yeah, hold on, I'm a person, I'm a mammal. Do I need some water right now? Because I'm a very creative person. My whole life is creativity. You know, it's building classes and workshops and albums and you know, all kinds of stuff. And so I'm in very imaginative and content rich places in my mind throughout the day. And so to ground into simplicity means to, as an act of devotion to doing all of that magical imaginational work and actually bringing it through into reality, I have to tend to the temple, which becomes the vessel for which all of that that alchemy that's doing in these other realms can come through. So grounding into simplicity means sometimes just taking a breath, singing a few tones, feeling the sound of my own voice just vibrating through my body, just letting any like emotional energies move through, and then I can just track my mind. Hey, what story am I telling myself? What am I telling myself right now? How do I feel? How much more space can I make for this moment?
Beautiful. I love that analogy, and I love the way that you shared it. For me, I'm curious to know a little bit more. What have you found during these changing times and uncertain times? Is like the simple things that we kind of like. For me, for instance, I would sit outside in the morning and I would drink my cup of tea and I would just watch the leaves fall like rain as the breeze is blowing. I was like, I was so amazed by the simple falling leaves, how much awe, and I can't really articulate the word, but it's like a feeling that I get and I receive from witnessing this. Is there anything for you in the past few weeks since we've had this shift that you've come home to, like the simplicity of life and the simple things that brings us joy?
Yeah, I would say for me, also sitting outside, just like getting my feet on the ground can really help me. I think the first thing that I go to is just like softly just touching my own body. Like I'll just start to touch my arms. I'll put my hands on my knees. I'll start to just touch my legs and my skin, and I'll really start to feel my own skin. Because again, sometimes I'll just be popped out and be like, woo, flying. So yeah, just a couple of breaths, even just like rocking back and forth while touching the whole outer layer of my physical body is the way that something I come to multiple times a day.
Beautiful. I love that.
And it's like an act of really doing it with extra attention that makes it really powerful, because there's some like we're touching ourselves kind of unconsciously as a tick throughout the day. And so I think bringing that extra slowing down of the breath and really having the extra attention on the sensation really helps me. It's very relaxing, and it can really help me to pause and slow down my breath. And sometimes I'll just bring I'll hum while I'm doing that as well, to get my nervous system to acclimate to homeostasis with the sound of my own voice reverberating through and sending a signal to my whole system to come out of fight or flight, or to come out of a subtle tension I might be in, and to relax and go into a low-key state for a moment.
Beautiful. I love that. So simple and yet so profound. Humming like me and touching yourself with pure presence can really shift you from fight or flight into, rest and digest. So yeah, I definitely resonate. Yeah. Beautiful. It's interesting now, I know you have been you've been traveling worldwide, creating retreats and offerings. And with the shift, it's kind of like everything's being put on a pause. And I've just been witnessing you online and just see you flourish in all these different, online festivals and offerings, and seeing that you're also launching a brand new course. And it's really exciting. So I want to just dive in a little bit deeper into, how is this shift helping you tap into a different creative space, within your business, and yet also, not getting too far ahead of ourselves, because we don't really know what is going to happen, right? So I feel like a lot of us, yes, we're pivoting, and at the same time we're also thinking in the back of our minds that things are going to shape shift and go back to somewhat of normal, which I don't believe. But share with us a little bit, what have you been up to, and how this shift has inspired you to create something new? Like, I don't know if the thing with Elijah has been something that has been kind of like on the forefront, or was this something that sparked from this shift? Curious to know a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, so I'm creating a 6-week online course with Elijah Ray, an amazing artist and vocal empowerment magician. And we had been developing this content for a while, and we're planning on doing some filming of an evergreen, of a pre-recorded kind of course. So it had been developed, and we decided to run it as a live course once things shifted, so that we could be with the people in real time, and create a container that was specifically for what we were going through. So that's how we chose to show up for the timeline. For me personally, it's such an interesting question, like how to work with the energies available for creative flourishing. One of my practices in general as a creative being, and I think this is true for a lot of creative beings, is that when we have confinements put on us, that can be a really powerful exercise in learning to create within a boundary, and learning to create within where there's an outer edge of where I can go beyond. And so I find that when restrictions are placed on my creative process, that can actually help sometimes catalyze a lot of activity, because I know I can't go beyond a certain location. Sometimes when we have zero boundaries, it can be intimidating to parts of our creative spirit. We don't know how far, where the edge is, how far we're allowed to travel to the edge of the playground. They say that with playgrounds, if you put a parameter on the outer edge of the field, the kids will play all the way up to the edge. But if there's no outer boundary, they'll stay pretty close to the sandbox. So similarly, I've been experienced like, wow, we've just had all of these parameters put on where we're allowed to travel and go and work with our life force energy. And so I have deliberately chosen to work with those parameters as a spiritual gym to exercise what I can do within the space that is my next level of service and devotion to my message. And so it's been a journey, and just choosing that and surrendering the like false hope that it was going to be anything different than this. Like I had a lot of stuff planned, just like we all did, and a release of an album planned, which I'm still going to release. And the way that I'm going to release it's going to look really different than I think the picture I had in my mind 2 years ago when we started making it. And now it's really an invitation for the co-creative nature of being in collaboration with life force. This is what life is serving up to us now. So how do we collaborate with it, even if it's different than what we would prefer?
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. So your release of your album, I'm not too sure. Would you have done a tour with it? And what does that look like now, releasing an album? So you just release it online. I know you probably don't want to go into it too much, but I'm just curious. It's like, wow, what do we do? People that used to do retreats, they do online retreats now, and there's all these different ways. So I'm really excited to see how you're going to pivot that one. Just by releasing your new single, that was incredible. Talk a little bit about that one. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, well, I don't know what releasing it's going to look like. I had envisioned a tour, which may happen at some point down the line. It's definitely not the thing I'm creating right now. And the single Stargazer, I'm just so happy we got to film all of that before this came down the pipe. That was just such a fun collaborative process. 50 people were involved with that project, with just that one song and music video, which is kind of a lot when you think about it, for a 5 minutes of art. And it was fantastic. It was such a wonderful opportunity to really be with a lot of people doing their magic really well. And so it was fun to get to share a piece of collaborative poetry at that level, during a time where it seems like collaboration is being we're having to make a lot of adjustments right now with how we think about collaboration, because so much collaboration happens in person. and you know, synergizing with the gestalt of a group energy field. And so what does that look like for us now to be in collaboration with each other in this new way? And so it feels really fun and funny and like exciting to put that out, and also kind of like what's next? I don't know, but I am happy it's out there in the world, that I got to, you know, the artist team got to contribute some like sparkly galactic Northern Lights dreamy codes for the world.
Well, there you go. That is a great explanation of that, and I'll definitely post that that single here on the comments so people can look into that. I felt that was, yeah, kudos on that. It was spectacularly done. I really like that. I think,
Yeah.
you know, there's another question that's coming up for me that I would like to dive into, and it's like, there is a big shift happening, as we already know, and as we can feel in a collective level from a heart space. And you know, for me, that shift happened ever so swiftly. When I was 27, I was going through a Saturn return. At that time, I had no idea what that even meant, and there was something inside of me that shifted. And I remember like all of the structures that I had, which was my religion, you know, my upbringing, my family, kind of just started to disintegrate and fall apart. And it was really scary, and I was very lonely. And I feel like there's a lot of us right now that is also moving through a shift. And, you know, it might look different than what mine was, but I'm curious to know, you know, if you felt a shift, or even with this shift, and if there's any stories that you want to share, or any insights or inspiration that you want to share to those that are currently moving through this shift, and tools and techniques to help them and support them during this time.
Yeah, shifting paradigms. What happens when the way we think things are no longer the way we see things, like when our identity constructs start to fall apart? What do we do now? I've had a lot of experiences like this over the years. I think it really started happening for me when I was 18, 19. I started having these huge shifts and a lot of life force energy starting to come online. And I think a lot of healing was happening for me with how I had disconnected from aspects of my creative energy and how it flowed through my body because of belief systems and things that I adapted from the worldview of the culture that I grew in, like what a woman is and how we're allowed to show up in our sexuality and our vitality and creativity. And the truth is I'm still working through those shifts. It's just a long adventure down the nuanced imprints that you know, we acquire in a culture that's guilt ridden with all kinds of trips around what we're allowed to do with our creative energy and our beauty and our voice. I'd say one of the things that has helped me to negotiate with the big emotions that tend to arise when certain ego structures or personality strategies start to like shake. Like I like to see it like we like build these houses around a really like a part of us that doesn't want to feel like, we'll have experiences and then we have all of this meaning that we assign to the feeling that's more complex than we can really digest. And then we build all of these strategies on top of it of how we operate and our personality strategies, and it just becomes this subconscious way of being. And then there are moments in our lives when I believe that the stars align, or you know, we take peyote out in the desert, or we meet someone and some catalyst will start to shake the whole house apart, you know, see that the house is made out of branches and like broken glass mirrors of parts of ourselves that we're like, oh, we got to put this there and that'll be fine. Or like some like TV program, and all of these houses, like the winds of change come and start to shake it out, and it's a tornado, and all of a sudden there's still parts of the house are left standing, but like clearly the walls have been like taken out, and there's like sun blasting through the ceiling, and we're getting rained on, and there's just that little part of us still there. We're just like, no, fuck, you know, like I was really trying to like hold it together. But it's nice, you know, it's this thing of like, wow, we clearly can't stay in this house. Like clearly can't stay in here. So what do we do? And so we like have to go in sometimes, because this little guy is kind of scared. So we'll have to go in and be like, it's okay. We're just going to like hang out. We're going to like walk out of the house and just like guide your little one, step over all of the claws and knives and like weird skeletons dangling in the corners. Like, it's all right, it's fine, it's just looks a little weird right now. And you just walk them outside the house and you go take them out on the ground. You're like, oh, look at this, here's the ground, it's so beautiful, and there's some sunshine, feel the sunshine, and then you look back in the house and you're like, wow, I lived there for like 20 years, that was amazing. You just like can have a bonfire with the last pieces. It's just like, get warm. And then you can decide, wow, what kind of house could really serve me? Like what kind of house could really host this spirit? And then you can create a new space to house your spirit with walls that are made out of, I don't know, dreams or whatever.
Oh my goddess, I absolutely love that story. Wow. Okay, so then you build your new house and a new foundation with new materials that feels completely new and fresh, right? And
yeah, you just hang out in this new house, and with the realization that like anytime we create, like construct awareness, like organized awareness processes, that they at some point might blow out again, and that's okay. I think like every time we arrive to our new ground of being, that we'll just naturally build a new house there, because we're mammals and we like little caves to go sleep in. It's fine, you know, and that there's plateaus of development, and then there's catalyzing development moments. And I do know that I think collectively, like you mentioned, we're in a time where the collective identity structure of humanity is really getting a swift hurricane blowing through. And so we're going to have to rebuild in some new ways, and I think we're all figuring out right now what the materials of the old houses were made of, and to be like, wow, like things we just didn't see. I know that's true for me, and so I don't know that it's time to rebuild our new structures yet, but I am getting, you know, having a lot of radical acceptance for myself in the moments where the materials are starting to fall away and the old ways of thinking and believing are really getting revealing their fallacies and some of their incomplete, you know, processes. Just radical acceptance, right? Like radical acceptance, radical compassion for myself, radical acceptance and compassion for other people's fallible construct reality strategies. You know, we're all doing the best we can, I think. And baby steps, little steps each new day. How can I get into this? How can I create this body as the first home? You know, how can I get really home in my body, so that then what I built out from as an expression of this body temple, it can really house me well. And then also becoming, you know, very fluid in our ability to adapt, I think, is another part of it, because when we're radically transforming, there's nothing to get comfortable with except really our inner spaciousness.
Yeah.
And for me, like principles, like what are the unshakable principles of who I am at the core? You know, what are my values? What is my service? What is my resolve? I think those are the pieces that then start to get shaken loose and come forward for reveal.
I love that. Wow, what a beautiful way of describing and sharing. I resonate a lot. And for me, I can also share that it's tuning in and revisiting what is the values, what are those principles, and they've shifted because of the construct that has changed. You know, where for me there was always like this great drive to be so successful and to serve so many and to do and accomplish, right? And with this sacred pause, I really had like an opportunity to check in again and be like, why am I, what is this drive to really push myself so over the edge to accomplish or to achieve? And it comes from the past, from the old houses, right? That the foundation changed, we moved on to a new house, but they were still part of the things that came into the new house. And so it's really like understanding how we are continuously breaking down the house and building a new one and creating a new foundation, and then fine tuning and say like, oh, I really like this house, and then building a new one as we're shape shifting and realities are shifting. So I love that analogy. Thank you for sharing, sister.
I like that what you said too about like sometimes when we build our new houses, it can still kind of like there's certain threads of the old pattern. And I love this analogy that I learned about karma that way, which is like garlic in a jar. Like if you have garlic in a jar and you're like, oh wow, this garlic's gone bad, I'm gonna pour it out, right? That jar is gonna smell like garlic for a while. Even though we got rid of the garlic, the smell of garlic is still there. And so I think we're just, you know, that's all I had to offer in that moment. It just takes time, I think, that's why I also, this is another grounding into simplicity. One of my core practices for dealing with the smell of garlic in all of my old garlic jars is having a great sense of humor. Man, is life funny? Man.
It gets even better when you can actually laugh at yourself. Like I come from super like, could never think that. I could just never like, play it simple, play with my, I had a call with another sister and she was like speaking to the sacred clown, and how like this playfulness that and laughing at myself have just gone out of the window. And so, yeah, it gets really fun once we can actually laugh at ourselves and just be like, yeah, that was a part of me and that maybe still is. And who knows when it's going to shape. So. Okay, so maybe share with us, I'm curious to know, do you want to dive a little bit, just an overview of this online offering? I know it's starting in a few days.
Yeah.
Landing page, it looks incredible, but maybe speak to it for those that are listening and
Absolutely.
See if there's any resonance for them to want to join.
So what I was saying before, some of the practices and methods that I use every day to arise as my most capable self and my most like spacious and open and just ready self are some of these tools which we're calling vocal core resonance as a methodology of vocal empowerment and using the voice as a tool for personal power and reclaiming power. So reclaiming power through the voice looks a lot of different ways. We're looking at the voice as tool for self-regulation, for self-soothing, looking at the voice as a tool for getting really in the body and opening up spaces where we're holding tension or stored emotional, unprocessed or unresolved, unassimilated emotional content. Also looking at the voice as an exploration of expansion within not only the voice and expanding our range and opening and seeing what more is possible with the voice as a singer, as a speaker, but building confidence in personal resonance, in personal, individual and unique frequency, and how it transmits through us, both to convey our soul with people that we're working with, to convey our message, our creativity, and how can we work with the voice in simple ways throughout the day, every day, to stabilize within our core essence. And this looks a lot of different ways, which we're so excited to share some of these practices and tools and methodology over a 6 weeks course that starts May 10th. And it's up with my beautiful colleague and friend, Elijah Ray, who we've been exploring some of these methods together and sharing our best tools and trade skills, and have really come up with some really fun ways to, again, ground in a daily practice of simplicity with the voice as a way to get in the body, to increase joy, relaxation, focus, vision, purpose, confidence, and calibrating to our voice as a really potent tool and like a powerful medicine that we can work with every day.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. Two of my favorite people. Elijah is also going to come on to this show and share a little bit about his story. So I'm excited about that. But you know what? I just want to say thank you. Thank you for just being, you're such an inspiration, not only to me, but so many women and men out there. And I just want to say from my heart to yours and my womb, I love you, Mama. Thank you so much for sharing your voice today and your stories and all of the beautiful stories in the way that you do. And it was a pleasure having you on here. Is there anything else that you want to share to our listeners before we end?
I just want to say thanks so much for having us and just holding everybody's heart, just our own heartbeat, with so much radical compassion. I just really, I believe in us to arise to the occasion, and I really believe in the resilience and creativity of the human spirit, and there's nothing like a good challenge to bring forward our unique genius as people. And so I am really looking forward to learning more about what is going to come from everyone during this pressure cooker time, and how it's going to really catalyze, I believe, a renaissance of magic that we can't really understand yet, but I believe in it wholeheartedly.
Thank you so much, Marya. Such an honor and a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode. If you like this, please comment or share this, and I look forward to bringing more incredible people on to share their stories and open up these conversations for a global awakening. Until next time, goodbye.